So Taz, you mentioned just before about starting conversations. I think a lot of us find that to be the most daunting part. Maybe once I'm in a conversation, maybe I'll be able to carry it on. But how do you start a conversation about spiritual things?
Well, starting a conversation is the first thing. That's the first thing. And like I talked about getting my license checked by this lady. And so she said, do you live at this address still? And I just added extra stuff. I said, yeah, I'm still there. I said, I just can't bear to think about what it would mean to move, And so that, then she offered something about her situation and it just went from there. So that's the way I start a conversation is if I meet somebody, I'll just say, wow, it's hot today, isn't it? It's hard to believe just how we're going to cope in this heat or something like that. Anything, you can bring up anything and people will respond usually. I can say something about the rain or something about how busy it is or something about, I like your, that's an incredible hat you've got on or something like that. So I just bring up anything. I was in a shop just recently and there was a guy and I standing outside the big refrigerators for the milk. And I said, boy, there's a bit of a traffic jam here, isn't there? And so we started talking about the milk and he says, do you know me? I said, well, I do now. And so we got talking and that's how it happened. And I asked him what he did. Is he retired? And he wanted to talk about his work, what he used to do. And do you live on your own? And yes, he lives on his own. And so I just talk about anything like that. And it just came up what he used to do. He was an engineer. I said, I used to be an engineer. I used to work as that. But now I'm a geologist. And so then we talked about that. He says, oh, my son's a geologist. And I said, well, I actually write articles about geology. Do you like reading? He said, I love reading. I said, well, I got a magazine here which I'm involved with. It's got geology articles in it. Have a look at this. So I showed him the magazine and he said, wow, my son would love that. And so I said, well, this is an old copy. You can have one if you like. And I gave him a copy and he's thrilled to get it. So it's not really about God. It did talk about God. I mentioned creation and that sort of thing. But we didn't go down the way of salvation and all that sort of thing. The good news is in the creation magazine. But he just was very pleased to get it. And so I find it's amazing how that happens, to have it on you, to be able to pull it out and show it to them. And very often, probably 8 or 9 times out of 10, they'll be very pleased to receive it.
That's really interesting because in both those stories, you had either a Bible or a creation magazine on you to be able to share with that person. How long have you been carrying around Bibles and creation magazines? And do you do that all the time?
Well, I started carrying around Bibles after I joined the Gideons. The Gideons is an organisation that aims to see people come to know Christ as Saviour, and they put Bibles in hotels and motels. They distribute them at schools and to police academies and that sort of thing. Plus, they're encouraged to buy personal copies and offer them to friends and people that they meet. So that's just a challenge that you receive. So that impacted me in that ringing up schools, talking to the administrators at schools, visiting hotels, knocking on the door, talking to the managers of the hotels. That brought my Christian faith out of the closet, out of the walls of a church, into just the daily, the streets and the daily businesses and that sort of thing. So it gives you courage. And to start with, that's a bit daunting. And other people that are in the same organisation that join, it's all volunteers, but they say the same thing. They said, this was a bit outside my comfort zone. That's what it is when people first join. But by encouraging one another, you get used to it, you get used to being relaxed about it and just being part of the normal conversation. And so when you're offering a Bible, how am I going to give a Bible to somebody? What do I say? How will I do it? Will I say it this way or will I say it that way? And it's all going on in your head about this big deal of giving somebody a Bible. Will I give them this one? Anyway, eventually you get used to just doing it and you don't do anything very special, actually. I often will say, hey, have you seen one of these before? And they say, what is it? It's a Bible, So it's, you know what I mean? So it's just straight out. And so it just comes up like that. And usually there's no problem at all. Generally, there's no problem with it, with doing this with people at all.
So would you say that for people who are nervous to share their faith or find it awkward in their workplace or schools, that actually just stepping out and doing it regularly is a helpful thing?
I think it's really helpful. Just stepping out and being friendly and learning how to have a conversation with people, I think, is very good. We were encouraged to do that at church. I know the minister, when I was in my 14, 15, 16, that sort of an age, he would encourage us to have conversations with people that we'd not met before. And so I would do that because they asked us to do it. And the thing is, you start a conversation. Hello, how are you? What are you doing? And then you very quickly run out of things to say. And you're sort of sitting there, how do I get out of this? You're thinking to yourself. And so you learn like lots of little tricks and that, not tricks, I suppose, but lots of little things you can do. You can sort of see another person walking by, say, hey, come on, I want to introduce you to so-and-so, and you introduce them, and then you leave. And so those are the sort of things you can do to help you improve in your way of having a conversation with people.
What other tips would you have for people that are wanting to start conversations with the people around them? So you've said be friendly, ask questions. What else can people do?
Well, I think when you start out on the day, like often you don't even think about, sharing something for the Lord. And I remember the Apostle Paul said, pray for me that I will, will take advantage of every opportunity. And so I think that's often you go out and you think, oh, well, Lord, I'm your agent today. I'm available. You can use me any way you like. I remember praying that. I was just walking down the road, just down this path, and as I prayed that, a guy was coming the other side, and he looked at me and says, hey, do I know you? So we had this quite incredible conversation, and I only just prayed like that, and it's amazing how it works. So it brings it to our attention, and there's always situations in our life where there are opportunities. People think, oh, you're lucky, you get opportunities. But there are always opportunities. The people that you meet in the shop, the people in the queue, paying your bills, the people that serving that are there, the people in the McDonald's. Everywhere you go, there's opportunities. The people that knock on your door, the telemarketer that rings up that talks to you. So a lot of people will say, you know what I do to telemarketers? I just hang up on them, And I think, well, there's a human on the other side, and so I just asked the Lord. So do they know you? So I've had opportunities where I bring something up, and there'll be conversation will open up, and I've ended up praying with people who rang me up as a telemarketer, which is quite interesting. So it's amazing. And the thing is that's what Jesus said, as you go into all the world, you preach the gospel. And so I found that has been very exciting, the way that it works out. So
making yourself available every day, whatever you're doing, being available and open to the fact that God might use you. That's right. And I find that if you're friendly with people and you talk to people, that basically something pops into your head, and then you've got the choice of, am I going to say it or am I not going to say it? And there's part of you which will say, don't say that, don't be a stupid idiot, and say that, and so there's this thing that comes into your head. And so you realize that there is a battle that goes on inside of you every time, and so you say it, and I call it like dropping a stone, a pebble into a pool, and you drop it in and you don't see where the ripples go. And so, rather than trying to control the situation, control the conversation, which is what I used to try to do, I used to try to do it to get the 4 spiritual laws in and come to a certain conclusion. I don't do that anymore. This thought comes, I drop it into the conversation, and I just stand and watch to see where it goes. And it's like
it's in a way like seeing God move. That's the thing that's exciting. And after the conversation, you come away thinking, wow, how did that happen? So it's not you being in control. It's you feel that God is in control.
So you've mentioned creation.com, but something else that you've talked a lot about today is the Creation magazine. It's something that you use quite a lot. I was wondering if you could tell us a little bit more about that.
Well, Creation magazine, it answers the questions that people in our culture have. So people have written off the Bible, have written off Christianity because they think evolution has proved that the Bible's not true. And if people are sort of wondering, okay, where do I get more information on this? That's where the magazine comes in. Because it's not just about one thing. If somebody might have one sort of question answered a little bit, but they think, but what about this? What about that? There's a whole lot of things in a person's mind that they are wondering about and puzzled about. And so that's why I like to use the magazine. It's colourful, the articles are short, and so people, when they get it, it covers all the main topics that are likely to be in a person's mind. And so that's why Creation magazine, I think it's such a valuable tool to be able to give to people. So if there's anybody that's interested and wants to sort of reach out to people and to be able to spread the gospel, they can get Creation magazine, and particularly if they get a subscription, they can then hand it on to their relatives, or their neighbours. So that's a really good way of doing that, and we hear good news about that. And another way they can do it is that they can get back issues, which is what I do. Back issues, which are very cheap. You can buy them in bulk and not expensive. And so that's what I use when I put them in my little bag and go out and to meet people.
And if you're interested in getting a Creation magazine subscription or the Creation magazine back issues, the links to those will be in the description below. Thank you, Tas, for your time.
It's been great.